So this video tutorial is a little basic once over about how I train and why I train the way I do. First off is I use two different sword lengths. I'm very right-handed, so I use a shorter sword in my left hand and my normal size length sword in my right. This gives me a lot more speed and dexterity for small motions with my left hand that I just feel is unwieldy with the right. Basically speaking, smaller, tighter, more dexterous motions for the left and bigger arcing, looping motions for the right, including things like, getting ahead of myself, but binding, all left-handed stuff, still giving me a right hand to fight with, right? So a little bit about my approach to two-sword. Number one is stance work. I tend to either have a right leg back stance like such, where I'll keep my blades out ahead of me to impact, to catch blows coming in, or I will have my feet turned so that my right leg is forward and my left hand is out. The difference in how that attacks is such. This hand forward, this left leg is fairly planted, and I pivot off of my back toe. It gives me these sort of thrusts and big stepping motions, allowing me to have lunges. Right? I tend to use bigger feet than a lot of more A-frame style fighters who are using very small motions. This allows me to have very dynamic styles of movement, changing my range, because range control is very important for my fight. I want to be in control of when, where, and how I engage with my opponent. Staying on track, when I'm here, I will put pressure on, especially a sword and shield fighter, on a specific weapon. This allows me to have crossing attacks, turning attacks, and you'll notice I pivot off that back foot when I come in, and allows me to keep control over that weapon. Switching to the left foot, right? If I'm fighting a left-handed fighter, it's the same thing. If I'm fighting a great weapon fighter or another two-sword fighter, I'll keep my body a little more squared off and keep that pressure more down the center. I do use a lot of dynamic stance changes, so I may change mid-fight. But I tend to like to start here to gauge. It gives me a very safe defense, gives me a lot of control. Other basics to how I approach my game. When I first start my fight, I like to keep right outside of general striking range. I'd say this is C. You know, obviously this is still within one step. I like to keep my posture very relaxed. Oftentimes I'll keep my weapons right on my shoulder. This allows me to jump into stance in a split second, or actually fire right from here. But it keeps that relaxed posture, so I don't give away too much about what my footwork and positioning is going to be. I like to gauge where my opponent is going to be by feeling them out at range. You know, if they rush me, I can counter, but I like to take my time, slow people down. If they come with a real slow, methodical energy, I want to start aggravating them and make them react to things, especially if they give me still a slow, or if they give me a high-paced energy, I want to stop them and slow things down. So yeah, my basics are how I engage my weapons. I like to attack specific targets that are not what I seem to be attacking, so I will put pressure often in an area. Like here, I'm putting pressure on it through body positioning, which I don't intend on attacking, or I will throw an attack there while really intending a follow-up somewhere else. If I need to throw big combinations, I certainly can, but they're usually with the intention of setting up something very different to keep weapons engaged in different places, to get people tied up. And I try to use as minimal energy as I can by maximizing how much I get out of each motion. So if I can get a block and get my body out of the way and be able to make it a strike at once, all to set me up for something else, then all the better. So again, using very dynamic and changing footwork, changing weapon positions. Really, I try to keep a lot of control with thrusts, with pressure, with movement, and do a lot of reading of the body language of the opponent up front so that I know myself and I know my opponent. And I think Sun Tzu said, you know, if you know yourself and not your opponent, you'll only win half the time. If you know yourself and the opponent, you don't need to fear contests. But if you don't know either. So anyway, that's a basic overview of me and kind of my approach. As I think of other things, I'll make other videos, and next one I'll do will be just kind of basics.